Welcome to Undercurrents of Romance, the show that celebrates every subgenre of romantic fiction. In each episode, I peel back the layers of your favorite love stories and chat with the talented authors who bring them to life. I'm your host, Tracey Devlyn. Now, let's dive in with today's guest. Hello, romantics. I'm here with New York Times bestseller Suzanne Enoch to talk about her new historical romantic comedy, A Duke Never Tells. Welcome to the show, Suzanne.
Thank you for so much for having me. This is fun.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to it for ever since your publicist sent me the information about the new book and loved the new book. It was so
No, thank
much fun. I
you.
laughed out loud in a couple of places on it, so it's just so much fun. A little bit different than what I've read of yours in the past, and both good and both great, I should say, in their own way. So this was I did not expect it to be a romantic comedy. I don't know why, because it was clearly in the information. But I just thought, hey, I'm reading a Suzanne Enoch book and jumped right in. But it was a lot of fun. Did you? I
Well, thank you.
bet you had a great time writing it as well.
I did. I had to have a chart for who was who and who was pretending to be who, but yeah, it was a lot of fun.
That was actually going to be one of my questions. If you had to keep like a spreadsheet to keep everybody and their deceptions straight, because there was a lot.
It was. Usually I make I call it my Bible for each book where I have the character, how old they are, the eye color, what all that stuff. And I had to put a is pretending to be column on
Oh
this one.
gosh.
So I keep it all straight.
Yeah. Great, great. Well, whenever I was preparing for the interview, I noticed on your website that you and I have a number of things in common. And I noticed that you like a couple of movies that I really enjoy. Aliens, love
Mhm.
Aliens, and Lord of the Rings, and we all know you're a Star Trek fan. And then what surprised me a little bit was that you had a desire, like an early desire, as I did, to be a zoologist and had an affinity for Africa, which I thought was wonderful.
Yeah, it was all about writing, like being like Joy Adamson or Jane Goodall, but
Yeah.
yeah, I was gonna go to Africa and, I don't know, adopt a leopard or something and then release it to the wild and then write about all of our adventures or something.
Yeah, no, I didn't approach it from the writing side, but I wanted to be the next Diane Fossey, so I wanted to go out and observe the gorillas and things like that. So I thought that was really great. And then of course we both write historical romances, and which brings us back to A Duke Never Tells, which, as I was saying before I hit record, I've left my copy downstairs. Can we do a little? There we go. Isn't that a great cover? So much fun.
I like the way it looks like he's like grinning at you kind of.
Yes, very roguish. Can you give us just a brief overview of the story?
Sure. As brief as I can. Let's see. Uh, Lady Meg Penwell Meg has found herself engaged to a man she's never met, the Marquis of Duffy. But then, before she can even meet him or anything, his father dies, making him the Duke of Ernhurst. And so now she has to wait a year in mourning before she can't even go out into society. She's mad. Plus, she's never had her season. This guy has a reputation for being horrible, so she decides she's going to take her fate into her own hands, and she ropes in her aunt Claire, who's only 8 years older than she is, and they decide they're going to pretend to be Claire's going to be a lady and Meg's going to be her maid, and they're going to go say they're visiting the great houses, the country houses, and they're going to stop by Ernhurst and see what kind of guy he really is, not expecting him to be there, but to be able to view his house and talk to his servants and all that. Well, he is there, and he's drunk, and he doesn't want to be the Duke, and he's angry at his man of business, whom he inherited from his dad. And so when these two ladies show up at his doorstep, he says he's the butler. And he tells them that Renikin, the man of business, is the Duke, which would all been fine for, they all go around for a couple hours, learn what they think they need to do, and go on their way, except that Meg has an accident, and she is therefore forced to stay in bed for 2 weeks at the Duke's house. So now all these makeshift disguises that weren't meant to hold water have to hold water for 2 weeks, and nobody's ready for that.
Yeah, it was so funny because as we mentioned, everybody's pretending to be somebody else, and it's everybody's frustrated because they're like, this was only supposed to last for an hour or two, and here we are, we're gonna do 2 weeks, and so yeah, it was pretty comical and fun, and I really loved that close relationship that you gave to Lady Meg and her Aunt Clara.
And Claire,
Yeah, is that something that are you familiar with a relationship that's similar to that where an aunt is more like like a big sister, or is that just came from your
I
imagination?
it's I the relationship is like the one I have with my sisters. I don't have that type of person in my life, but yeah, it's easy to imagine somebody like that that you kind of look up to, and you listen to what they have to say, and you kind of follow their lead. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, it was great. I love their banter and how
thank you.
Clara was always trying to keep her out of her shenanigans and trying to temper them, I guess, a bit.
There were a
But
lot of shenanigans.
yes, there are a lot of shenanigans. But it kind of we're in this age of first person single point of view romances, and you had multiple points of view, which I loved. I really enjoy getting into other characters. I always want to know what are they thinking? What's going on in their heads? And you gave us that. So you have a number of multiple points of view, and I was curious, did you set out to do that, or is that just how the story unfolded, or what were your thoughts on that?
I I have always written from third person, so I've generally got at least the hero and the heroine point of view.
Hmm.
That's just the way I grew up in my in my writing.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
For this one, I thought, because there's an arc for each of the four characters, that I really needed to get in to who they were. So I had to do something from their point of view. And then to keep it clear, I just kept one point of view per chapter, and then told the reader which chapter belongs to which person, to try and keep
Hmm.
everything straight for them and for me.
Yeah, yeah. And you have a secondary romance in here, and I don't know how much you want to talk about any of that, but I thought that that was a lot of fun too. It's almost like you get two stories for the price of one, so that was kind of cool.
Thank you. Yeah, I've never really done a secondary romance before. So it was nice. It
Yeah.
was fun to do, to be able to have that layering of the story, so that you have four people who are going through all this craziness.
For sure. Well, well, one of the things that I like to dive into on this show is finding the story's undercurrent with the author. It's that second beating heart of the story that flows just beneath the lover's journey. Do you know what the undercurrent might be that's flowing beneath James and Meg's story?
I was, after I read that on your site, I was kind of thinking about it, and I think it's the story about being who you are versus who you think you need to be. And even without putting their, before this all this stuff starts and they're each themselves, they're all kind of wearing a different character on top of their character. Meg is trying to be proper. Claire thinks she has to be this marcher for women's rights. uh, James the Duke thinks he's a has to be drunk and crazy because
Mhm.
that's what his dad hated the most. And Renikin, he's got to be all numbers and get this stuff done. And then when they take on these other personas, that's when they actually finally become themselves,
Mhm.
because they're being somebody that they don't think will ever be remembered, and they don't have to put on airs about anything. And so it's kind of a putting on a mask to unmask yourself,
Mhm.
if that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah, no, I love that. Yeah, for sure. I was thinking about James too, and he's not. a hugely likable person right at the beginning, right? But also still like you do want to just give him a hug and say, it's going to be okay. But it was really interesting his evolution and how he pretty quickly became Meg's caretaker and therefore kind of her protector at that point. And then again, I want to avoid spoilers here, but some that big thing that he did for her, that he presented towards the end of the story there, I thought that that was a really nice arc for him that you did.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was good. It's kind of a fine line, as you know, between picking a character at the beginning who needs to change and making sure that even though they're not perfect, that they're still relatable. They can't be so horrible that somebody throws the book across the room, even though
Right.
by the end they're going to be okay. You have to
Yes.
start at a point that's kind of
Yes.
reachable at least. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was fun writing him and who he really was underneath all
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. You found the good balance. So
Thank you.
congratulations on that. Um, one of the things I like to ask are, because romance novels generally have one or several tropes that you can find in there, and readers just love them. And one of them that is in this story, I think, is probably like a forced proximity, because of
Mhm.
her injury. What else do you think might be a trope? Have you given that any thought, or is that
I not too much, but it would kinda be the bad guy with the heart of gold,
yeah,
um, the smart girl who is allowed to be smart and is still likable, and I don't know, I don't really put them in that terms, which
yeah,
makes my publicist kinda mad because it's nicer if you can have a hook and you say, "Well, this book is Zorro meets Cinderella," or,
right.
something where that you can have a comparison to immediately, and I
Yeah.
tend not to think that way.
Yeah. So, and sometimes they kind of they come out as the story's written too,
Mhm.
Sometimes people will go into it and okay, I wanted this trope, this trope, this trope. They want to trope it up, as they say. And then sometimes it comes out in the writing. But yeah, I thought like forced proximity, maybe a little secret identity in there too. But I
Right.
liked yours as yeah, those are all great. Okay, cool. What romance book have you read recently that you would recommend to our readers?
I have lately been reading Stephanie Lawrence's book series about, oh, what is his name? I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget because I always do this. Her Barnaby Adair books.
Okay.
It's set during the early Victorian times now. It's gone forward in time. He solves crimes basically. He's kind of a sleuth, but also an aristocrat, and they're all really clever whodunits. And so I've been reading those. Her latest one just came out, I think, last month. That one was "Dead Beside the Thames." So that was fun. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great
And I
title.
also like, Karen Hawkins' Dove Pond books. They're a
Ah,
contemporary they're more women's fiction than romance, but she usually
mhm.
includes at least a touch of romance in there because that's where she came from too,
Yes.
is historical romance. So those have been a lot of fun. That's really all
Yeah.
I've had time for lately, but yeah,
Yeah, no
those
worries.
were nice.
It's always great to be able to recommend other authors to our readers and see what else is out there. So thank you for that. That's great.
Oh,
Um,
sure. My pleasure.
you You have written well over 40 novels at this point, haven't you? Somewhere in
Yeah, I'm in
there.
the mid-50s, I think now,
Oh,
yeah.
okay, mid 50s. Okay. All right. So you've obviously uh you've ventured into a lot of different stories, a lot of different scenarios and things like that. But I'm kind of curious, is there a story that you would love to write, but but have either haven't found the time to write it yet, or maybe just don't you don't have the confidence to take that plunge yet? Is there a story out there like that for you?
And that's funny that you said that because I just finished that book.
Oh, okay.
I finished my contract. I submitted my next book to come out, and I thought, "You know what? I'm just gonna take a couple of weeks and do this." And so I did, and I sent it in to my agent, so I'll wait to see what she says, but
Great.
it's, uh it's historical romantic comedy, but it's also paranormal,
Oh, nice.
which I
Okay.
have never done before, so I really enjoyed writing it, and I hope it's well received because 'cause I'd like to write at least 2 more of them, but we'll see how it goes.
Okay.
But,
Oh,
yeah, that was
nice.
I think we all do have that one book. It's like, "Oh, if only I had the time," and I finally realized that I need to take the time and do it if I'm gonna
Yeah.
do it, so
Yeah. Yeah,
I
for
did.
sure. Is it gonna be, set in the Regency, as your
Yeah.
others have too?
Mhm.
Okay, great, great. And the paranormal element, can you talk a little bit about what that is, or do you wanna keep that secret?
I'll say it has fangs, but
Okay.
that's
All right, perfect. Okay, great. Well, I will keep an eye out for that one because that sounds just right up my alley for sure. Susan, where do you like to write? And do you have any like rituals where you have to light a candle or have particular music on? Tell us a little bit about your writing environment, if you would.
I the my favorite place to write is in my house on the balcony outside my bathroom. Why there's a balcony outside my bathroom, I don't know. It was just here when we moved in. But I put a little umbrella up there and it's got a cushy chair and I just like to sit and write out there. And I usually have on music with my headphones. It's usually movie scores. I can't listen to things with words or the words start showing up on the page.
Not a
And
good
I
idea in
also
historical, right?
no. And I also prefer to write my first draft by hand. I don't always have time to do that, but if I can, I'll write in the morning and then in the afternoon I'll sit down at the computer and enter it in the computer and then that kind of gives me a first edit
Yeah.
as I'm doing it and that is what works best for me I found. And I if nobody else is allowed to touch my pen when I get my pens for writing, nobody else touches them for any 'cause it's like, there's there are 90,000 words in these pens, and if someone takes some, I'll run out too soon or something.
That's great. Now, do you have a is it a specific kind of pen or just whatever pen you're using?
I like the, G2 pens that
Ah,
are
Pilot?
pen I don't Pilot, yes, thank
Pilot,
you.
yeah. Yeah, I like
I could
those
describe
too.
it by sight, but
Yes, I use those and I use, purple ink. We're silly, aren't we? But, I was curious if you've ever heard of the Remarkable tablet?
I have, and I thought about getting it, but I'm not sure that it would work for me because the way it translates onto the page to Word right now seems to be kinda clumsy. So I don't know. I'll have to keep looking at it and see if they ever perfect the
Yeah.
formatting the way I want it to be, because that would be awesome to just be able to write it and then have it show up on the screen.
It's, I've had, the first, version of it, and I have the second one now too, and, I'm like you. Whenever I get started, I like to handwrite,
Mhm.
and, my hands would get so tired after a while because, you're writing it, and then you're taking it and you're typing it, right? So it's almost like a double whammy on your hands and that, and, so that convert to text feature, uh, I found really helpful because it's kinda like
Really?
what you said, yeah, because I can take that and then I can send it to my computer and then just copy it and paste it in. I use Scrivener, I'm not sure if you use Scrivener or Word or
No.
something like that, and just copy and paste it in there, and then you have to edit it, but it's also, like you said, it's like a good first edit, right? So
Yeah.
you take care of some of the little words that it didn't get quite right, And it's really improved over, the second
Oh,
version of it as far as the handwriting and converting the handwriting and everything. But it saves a lot of typing.
well, now I'm going to
So
look at it again
yeah.
because you
Yeah,
said that.
I really love it. I think it's a great tool, and it has that kind of scratchy sound to it,
Hmm.
as if you were putting pen to paper, that kind of thing.
Oh,
So
that's nice. That's an important sound, like the click of the keyboard and the scratch of the
yeah,
pen. It all
yeah.
makes a difference,
It does.
which
It triggers
weirdly
something. I
enough,
don't know
it
what it
does.
is.
Yeah.
All right. Well, before we go, can you give us a hint? Well, we have a hint about what you just handed in, this new style of story that you've handed in to your agent and editor. Is there any other projects that you're working on, or that you can talk about? Anything fun?
Well, previous to the Fang book, I turned in a which one is it? Oh, Better Than a Duke. I have a whole bunch of Duke titles in a row, and they must be Better Than a Duke, which will be out, I think, in February of
Okay.
next year. And it's
Okay.
another kind of along the lines of the 1930s romantic comedy. This one's a little sexier, though. It's a widow and a widower who move in next door to each other, and their respective children become friends and decide they want these two to be their parents, even though
Ah.
the adults have different ideas.
Oh, that sounds
Yeah.
amazing. So that's a really unique storyline. I don't know if I've ever read anything quite like that. I think that would be a lot of fun. A lot of
It
fun.
was fun to write it.
Yeah, I bet it was.
Again, I've
Something
got
different.
multiple points of view from the children and from the adults and some of the
Hmm.
servants who get in on the action and everything.
Do you have a publication time frame for the Fang book?
No, not
Not yet.
yet. It'll
Okay.
probably, if everything goes well and it's liked, it would probably be somewhere late next year, I would
Okay.
imagine. It just depends, as you know,
Yes. Yep,
on a lot of
absolutely.
different factors.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, great. Well, folks, when this episode airs, A Duke Never Tells will be out, so be sure to order your copy today. You can check out, there you go, there's the wonderful cover again. Nice. You can check out Suzanne's website at suzanneenoch.com. Suzanne, what social media outlets are you most active on?
Um, Probably Threads and Blue Sky, and what is Facebook called now? Or is
Oh,
that
Meta,
Threads?
yeah.
Meta.
I still call it
I can't
Facebook.
keep track of it.
Yeah. All right, great. Suzanne, thank you so much for joining me. I really loved this book. It was so great chatting with you about it. I wish you many happy sales, and I hope that Fang book comes out quickly so we can have fun with that as well.
Well, thank you very much. It was fun being here, Tracy. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Many thanks to everyone listening. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Undercurrents of Romance. You can find more information about the show at tracydevlyn.com/podcast. Undercurrents of Romance is a proud member of the Authors on the Air Global Radio Network. I'll be back soon with another great romantic read. In the meantime, enjoy the adventure, everyone.